forsaken booth. The truth is you sadly mistaken. Proof I'm better than.
Welcome to the SummerSlam 2022 review. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Oh man, SummerSlam was something else. The venue was fantastic. Wonderful outside stadium. I love the outside shows. It was a big crowd. Not sure it was 48,000 people, but it was a big crowd. Energetic all night. And that was the big difference for me, is that you could tell from the commentary to the matches to everything, the energy. It felt like the shackles were finally off. And even, especially on commentary, there was even some jokes about the shackles being off, where later in the night, I believe it was during Pat McAfee and Baron Corbin, where Michael Cole gets told by Corey Graves, "I liked it better when you didn't have an opinion." And Michael Cole said, "Well, that's changed. And a lot of things have changed." And Michael Cole is actually better as a commentator. Most things seemed to get a little bit better when the shackles come off. And you could tell how much of what was going on in WWE was Vinceisms, and how much of it was just kind of corporate hoo-ha, because some of the stuff that everybody hates is still going on, but it's clearly just corporate hoo-ha. But they're going to try to make the shows fun. And part of making the shows fun was letting the shackles off. It's just, they just cut loose on this show. And if you wanted to make a splash creatively, like Triple H said he did, this was a good show to do that on. And I think they did a good job of it in most parts, not throughout the entire show, but in most parts, they did a really good job of showing that the creative is finally going in a different direction. That being said, I would be leery of setting standards that you can't maintain, but we'll talk about those bridges when we cross them. All right, match 1. Bianca Belair defeats Becky Lynch to maintain the Raw Women's Championship. I have a great appreciation for Bianca Belair, not just because I was a fan of her in NXT, but also she skips these long ramps. It skips the entire way to the ring. And she is not blown up when the match starts. Like, it's insane that she continues to skip to the ring. It's like, that's a long way, sister. You don't need to skip to the ring. I don't think anybody would have noticed if she didn't skip all the way to the ring. But she did. And she does it with a smile on her face. So, got to give her some credit for that. Now, the match was pretty simple. Bianca is faster. She's stronger. But Becky is cagey. She's more technically savvy. So Becky is targeting an arm, which is simple. She's a powerhouse. Bianca Belair is a powerhouse wrestler. You target the arm. It didn't factor into the match as much as you would think, but they did at least try to tell the story of Becky Lynch will be going for the disarmer at some point. Outside the ring, there was some interesting spots where Bianca tried to do an KOD on the barricade. She did it, but Becky wasn't really all that hurt. And then I think she yanked her hair and gave her a leg drop over the thing. They was outside the ring and probably should have got counted out. I mean, I'm very anal about stuff like that. You're outside the ring forever. And that's what I mean by the shackles were off. Because it seems like the referees kind of just let things go, which is fun to a degree, but also at the same time, you're kind of like, what is the point of the referee if he's not going to do his job? Bianca also botched a glam slam. It looked kind of ugly, like she dropped Becky on her shoulder. Thankfully, Becky was all right. The agility of Bianca Belair is very impressive. The caginess and technique of Becky Lynch was pretty impressive. But the finish was over the top. It was tremendous. C4, or what's called a Spanish fly, off the second rope was awesome. Instead of going for the pinfall, they both just kind of got up, but they were still selling it. But Becky Lynch got up and hit the KOD on Becky, and she was pinned 1, 2, 3 clean. Becky was, of course, distraught after losing again, but this time she had kind of accepted that she lost. So she offered Bianca Belair her hand. They shake hands and then hugged. And I was like, okay, well, clearly Becky Lynch is about to stab Bianca Belair in the back. And she doesn't. She gives her dap, she gives her credit, and kind of leaves Bianca to celebrate. And of course, we get Bayley's theme song. So Bayley is back. And I was like, oh, okay. Now, this was kind of spoiled earlier in the day. So, I mean, typical dirt sheets, they kind of spoiled that one early in the day. And then Dakota Kai came out there. And I was like, oh, boy. Oh, no. The ghost of NXT passed. And then we get Io Shirai. But commentary is calling her Io Sky. And I was like, okay. The Io Shirai I like. Dakota Kai, not so much. Bayley, I do like Bayley. I probably would have liked it better if she was, if it wasn't spoiled for me. But, okay. Now, the real surprise is that they were all brought back in one faction. And it seems like they're going to be, well, Dakota Kai and Io Sky are going to be partners of Bayley's. And that's interesting. So Bayley gets in the ring and they surround Bianca Belair, and she's yelling about not coming back alone. She's not stupid. She brought two of the best with her. Then Becky Lynch stands side by side with Bianca Belair. And everybody's like, oh shit, Becky's turning full babyface. I'm waiting for the heel turn. I'm just like, okay. Becky's about to attack her from behind. It's about to be one big ruse. And it's going to be Becky and Bayley and all of them working together. And no, Becky and Bianca stood side by side, and Bayley and her crew left. No, this was a nice little nod to the indie wrestling fan who was a big fan of Io Sky and Dakota Kai. I'm not that big a fan of Dakota Kai, if we're being honest. I think I've said that already in this video, but I'm not thrilled with it. Whatever. Her and Bayley as a partnership, I actually like that. I think that's fine. Bayley having a crew, I'm cool with that. I just don't see the similarities in the characters, but I guess that's something that's going to be explained later. So Raw gets 3 new women right off jump. Bayley is jumping to Raw apparently, and she's bringing Io Shirai or Io Sky, and she's bringing Dakota Kai with her. Okay, everybody is very excited for Dakota Kai. She seemed pretty happy to be there. All right, she sat out there for several weeks. If Tony Khan wanted her, he could have gotten her. He didn't. I think the Io Sky, Io Shirai thing, I think we were just kind of waiting for the right spot. Triple H, of course, blew his load early because, why not? Doing all 3 of them at the same time was a little markish. Like, we didn't need to do all 3 of them at the same time, playing their music each one at a time. You could have just played Bayley's theme and then all 3 of them walk out. You probably could have just done that. Or you could have had Bayley confront them and then had Io and Dakota attack them from behind. That probably would have been fine too. Playing all 3 of the music kind of betrayed that not everybody knew who they were, because Dakota Kai didn't get the same reaction that that the other 2 did. But that was to be expected. This audience is not really sure who these people are, so Triple H needs to do the work of making sure people know who they are. Io Sky, the name. Perfectly fine. It's spelled weirdly. IYO. IYO. Sky. SKY. Now, she was a genius at the Sky, so it makes sense for the Sky part. And EO, or IO, or whatever they call it her, is just the English pronunciation of her name. So, that's really all it is. It's spelled phonetically. EO. So. It was all fine. Everybody's very excited. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Triple H era. He's coming to do it. He's bringing it. He's bringing the heat. It was like, okay, well, it's just Io Shirai, who's probably coming up anyway. Just probably going to do something different, but she's coming up anyway. And Dakota Kai, who, free agent signing. Not too bad. Not great either. I'm very, very interested in that partnership, though. And what that partnership means. for the Raw Women's Division, and more for the Women's Tag Team Championships, which I'm pretty sure Triple H is going to go back to. I think that would be the reason you would bring 3 women in. Bayley would go after the title, and Io and Dakota would go for the tag team titles, right? That seems to be the best way to do it. Even though I think Bayley and Dakota Kai make a great tag team to me. But whatever, that's fine. Match 2, Logan Paul versus The Miz. Logan Paul wins the match and embarrasses, 80% of wrestlers in the business. That's probably being generous. He probably embarrassed more like 95% of them. And what I mean by that, I don't just mean, well, he can do flips. I don't care that he can do a moonsault. I'm talking about his punches actually looked good. His selling actually looked good. His timing was actually good. I mean, those small things, they were so good. Like when you look at how him and The Miz worked together, I was questioning in my prediction show who was going to lead this thing because Miz isn't a great wrestler and Logan Paul is a rookie. But I was very surprised at how well The Miz led him around. I was also very surprised at how they managed to get everything done without it looking clunky, without it looking out of place, without making Logan Paul look like a spot monkey either. Like he was able to get all of his offense in and made it look legitimate. Like his moonsault off the ring apron, it looked good. He did the splits at one point in the match. Like it looked good. His stuff looked good. It looked like it fit. But I was really impressed by how his punches looked legit and his chops looked legit. I'm stupefied at how good this kid is. Ciampa, he was out there wearing the Miz colors. He was dressed like Miz and Maurice. How cute. That was effing adorable. What was also adorable, I think she started doing this on Monday, but Maurice now starts carrying balls with her, like 2 big balls on a chain. Like she started carrying them with her. And I guess this started with the Miz's tiny balls. So I think that's what it's supposed to symbolize, is that she has his big brass balls or whatever. A little cuckish, but I mean, you look at Maurice, good Lord, she can grab whatever she wants. You feel me? Get a handful of whatever you want. You're not going to get no milk shame over here. I promise you that. None. She's golden. This match had some really fun stuff in it. Ciampa got ejected and he refused to leave, which says, I don't know when the last time I saw this, that somebody got ejected and then they just didn't leave. He just said, no, I'm not leaving. And he got a chair and sat down. So AJ Styles' theme played, but AJ Styles didn't come out there. Instead, he attacked Ciampa from behind. And the two of them fought off. They fought off, which, it is what it is. But Maurice was still out there. So the frog splash through the table outside the ring. Now, the main event guys were going to do a table spot later. That was the problem that I had with the table spot. I had 2 problems with that table spot. That was problem number 1. Problem number 2 is that The Miz was outside the ring for at least 30 seconds. At least. And the referee was not counting. And this is what I mean by, the shackles are off. Because The Miz is out there forever. And it's not like, he's distracted and he's not counting. He's just not paying attention to The Miz being outside the ring all this time. So they do the big frog splash through the table. It looked great. He made it easily. Logan Paul made it easily. It was a good spot. I thought they probably could have sold it a little bit more, but it wasn't bad. So they getting back into the ring, and Logan Paul smartly goes for the pin. Maurice distracts the referee. Okay, cool. The Miz then had a chain that he wore to the ring, and it had a card on it that was him after he gave the skull crushing finale to Logan Paul. And I guess it was a metal chain, so because he wrapped it around his hand and motioned to punch Logan Paul with it. Logan Paul ducked and he nearly punched Maurice, and he stops himself. But when he did it, he put his hands up, and that just led to the skull crushing finale by Logan Paul and the pin. So it's a Wile E. Coyote situation for The Miz, where his own plan blew up in his face, and that's how he lost. Not because he was out wrestled by the better wrestler, but because best laid plans often go awry. That's why he lost. He had this plot, and it didn't work out. So, sure, the table spot was kind of lit, but I think the boys were doing the table spot later, especially the importance of the table spot in the main event. I'm not a fan of it, them using 2 table spots per night or whatever, but I guess it was fine. For Logan Paul to be a celebrity, I guess you could bend the rules a little bit. So I thoroughly enjoyed the first 2 matches. So we got a Maximum Male Models commercial for Pure Life water, and they are absolutely inappropriate. They're pouring water all over themselves, and they're just playing in water. It looks gross, but it was also kind of funny. I'm stupefied at the fact they got away with that. But it was a fun thing to get some new characters over, So Max Dupree already doing commercials. He already got himself a sponsorship deal. Good old Max Dupree. All right, Bobby Lashley defeats Theory in a match that was probably 8 minutes, if that. So they didn't get a lot of time. I don't think Triple H or anybody was very interested in this feud. In fact, I don't think Bobby Lashley has appeared on TV in like 2 weeks. So this match was pretty short. Theory jump-started the match by beating Lashley with the briefcase. That thing is just mostly a weapon now. There's no chance of him actually, cashing it in. So it's mostly a weapon. He still managed to lose anyway. I'm not upset that Theory lost. I actually suggested that Theory lose because he doesn't need the U.S. title. What did he need it for? Let Lashley go and build up the credibility of it. Theory is mixing in with the top guys now. He doesn't need to be hanging around this mid-card belt. Not right now. So this was fine for what it was. I'm okay with it being so short, and with Theory losing, no big deal. Next, we got Los Misterios defeating the Judgment Day in a no disqualification tag team match that apparently was not Tornado. Like, the match started with everybody in the ring at the same time, and then it turned into tags, and then it turned into not tags again. I was like, what in the hell? Why would you do this? Why would you have no tags, then no tags again? Like, I don't get it. No disqualification. I know that no disqualification doesn't necessarily mean Tornado, but for fuck's sakes, the whole point of no disqualification is, hey, you can do whatever you want. Therefore, you don't need to make tags. You dig me? Ray did an interesting spot with the chair, where he kind of used the chair to slide outside the ring onto Finn Balor. That was pretty nice. I know it's just a variation of the move he already does, but it's an interesting variation. It makes it look like Cool Runnings. So Judgment Day had Ray beat, and Edge appeared, the Flaming Steps, and he now has a remix of the Brood theme. So there's a little bit of a remix of the Brood theme. The steps were on fire, and he had the elevator that comes up, and he had the short hair now. And he came out, he was pretty explosive on those spears. He ran to the ring, speared Finn Balor, hit the ropes a couple of times, speared Damian Priest. Finn Balor ended up getting pinned after a double 619 and a springboard splash. So he cost Judgment Day the match. He didn't do anything to Rhea Ripley, because Rhea Ripley is female. And I don't remember Rhea Ripley making a big stink about this match. Like, she didn't really get involved, which probably should have been for the best. Is that maybe they should have speared her too, just to get the pop and get the place rocking. Some people was a little disappointed by the Edge reveal. I wasn't. I thought it was great. The music probably used some tweaking, but then I could also probably need to listen to it again. But I thought it was good. I thought it was great. The Mysterios needed some help, and Edge willingly standing side by side with them. A little weird considering Edge's character, but we don't know what his character is going to be. Judgment Day is fucked. They fucked. I thought they were going to win this match at least in order to go into Clash at the Castle with some momentum, but I was wrong. I was clearly wrong. They're still talking about doing Finn Balor versus Edge, and Finn Balor says in an interview that he would like to have more creative control over the Demon, and I think he probably will get it with Triple H being there. But I think the Demon's been doing pretty well. Like, he's only lost once as the Demon. You know, maybe he had to use it in times where he didn't want to, but you know, it might be fun. Will it be the Demon versus Edge at Cardiff? That would be interesting, but I don't see why we need to do that. I think we need to establish Finn Balor as a threat right now, and they haven't done a good job of that. You know, like, he needs to win more matches. You know, that's we got him as a heel, which is a good start. Now we got to get him to win matches. And at this point of the show, I noticed that it was all baby faces that had won throughout this point of the show. No heels had won yet. And I was saying, like, okay, the only heel that's guaranteed to win is Roman Reigns. Everybody else, I don't know. The next match wouldn't break that streak. Pat McAfee defeated Happy Corbin. Happy Corbin got harassed by a choir singing bum-ass Corbin during his entrance, which was pretty good. Pat McAfee got the big entrance. He got, didn't get the big, 7 Nation Army and all that, but he still had a pretty good entrance. Michael Cole let us know that he was going to be completely biased in this one because he's friends with Pat McAfee. So that was great. Corey Graves played the heel commentator, even though it kind of made it seem like Pat McAfee was going to bring out the best in both of them, and they both were going to be baby faces, but they smartly kept Corey Graves heel. The match itself was a little slow and a little clunky, very clunky at parts. And I didn't see this, probably because my vision isn't very good. But on SmackDown, there was a picture that Corbin had that was Pat McAfee's mugshot. And the hilarity of that is Pat McAfee makes fun of his mugshot all the time. Like, people have drawn him like pictures of his mugshot on like a centaur body and stuff like that. So it's not like he took it personally. He makes fun of that damn thing all the time. So Happy Corbin having it was pretty fun. The match itself was all right. Pat McAfee also puts a lot of wrestlers to shame. His chops looked very good. He almost fell a couple of times. Like, he did the standing swanton to Corbin, which probably was unnecessary, but he nailed it, like center mass right in Corbin's chest. But, oh boy, he he's going to fall and break his neck. All right, so they did a ref bump, which, ref bumps. I don't know, brother. And Pat McAfee then kicked Baron Corbin in the nuts, which made sense because he's a puncher. But the finish, Pat McAfee did a code red. He jumped off the second rope and did a code red without using his hands on Baron Corbin. A code red without using his hands. It didn't look the prettiest, but by God, that was a tremendous finish. It was a fun match. Do I need to watch it again? No, probably not. But it was fun for what it was. Pat McAfee's another one. His agility is off the charts. Very athletic. Very into what he's doing. He's not coming across like somebody who's doing a performance. He looks like a guy in a fight, and he doesn't look like the best fighter. So it's clearly a guy who has some experience fighting, but not a lot, versus a guy who does have experience fighting. Corbin losing part of his gimmick, we're being honest, but ultimately, the guy he's like the Miz, where he can lose every match and somehow retain heat. And he's probably just going to be just as over Friday as he was last Friday, even though he got beat up by a commentator. So the interesting thing, Corey Graves have been talking shit the whole night. Pat McAfee goes over there to him, and Corey Graves' first words out of his mouth is, "You got lucky." So then Pat McAfee crotch chopped him. And Corey Graves pitched his pencil in the air. Then he got mad and told Michael Cole, like, you sent me home for a week for doing that. And Michael Cole said, well, you were in an airport. So they're telling you, of course, that Michael Cole runs, the commentary team or whatever, which, pretty much everybody knew by this point, right? He's a incredibly long tenured employee in that spot. All right. Drew McIntyre got to come out there to cut a babyface promo, and basically all he did was make fun of the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match. And for the first time in Nashville, for the first time in front of this crowd at SummerSlam, the first time in front of, what's your name, buddy? My name is Colt. For the first time in front of Colt. Give it up for Colt. And there's a Colt chant. He didn't want anything. He just broke up the monotony of match after match after match. And that was fine. Let everybody know that he's the number one contender. He's next. This is fine. I'm cool with this. Next. All right, so the Usos versus the Street Profits. Street Profits get a really big entrance with the Tennessee Titans cheerleaders, which included a male cheerleader. The Street Profits had the Titans logo, with a certain Titan tint to their logo. They were wearing cowboy hats, the Titans colors, everything. The whole 9 yards. And we were prepared for a full-on barn burner between these two teams, and it was just good. Like, the Money in the Bank match was so much better. A lot of other things they've done was so much better than this. It was silly, kind of. Angelo Dawkins was out there showing off. He had no shirt on, so he's showing off his physique. He's doing top rope flips. I mean, he's saying, hey, y'all, everybody's looking at Tiz. Y'all need to be looking at me too, baby. I got hops too. Respect. Don't get left in the dirt. Don't just surrender and become the Jannetty. Fight it. Fight the curse. You don't have to be the Jannetty. You don't have to be. All right, so Jeff Jarrett ended up catching one of the super kicks from the Usos. Tossed it into Angelo Dawkins, who hit the sky high. Tagged out. Montez Ford came in with the frog splash, but he ended up selling the frog splash too much to get an immediate pin. They were able to kick out. The Usos were able to kick out. Then Montez Ford got mad at Jeff Jarrett and said, what is it, because it's in Nashville, you can't count the three? I was like, wait a minute. What the hell are you so mad at the ref for? Are they teasing a Street Profits heel turn? Anyway, the one and done was hit on Angelo Dawkins, pinfall, and that's it. Usos win. Okay, a little paint by numbers. No surprise. No intrigue. Just Usos win. LOL. So, there that go. What do we do with the Street Profits from now on? I don't know. I think this just fuels breakup rumors at this point because they have no path back to the titles. So what do you do? I mean, they don't have a claim to the belts either. Maybe they'll blame the referee. Maybe they'll blame Jeff Jarrett and say we deserve a rematch because Jeff Jarrett was a shit referee, even though he really didn't do much of anything. So I don't know. Hard to tell. So Riddle jumped the barricade, got into the ring, got a raucous ovation. The people love Riddle. He said that his good buddy, he might not be medically cleared, rather, but his good buddy Randy taught him to never take crap from people like Seth Rollins. So he called out Seth Rollins, and as he's doing that, the commentary team is talking about, oh, he's got a spinal injury. What are you going to do? The guy's got a spinal injury. We can't have this match. Seth comes out. He's strolling at first, of course, letting the crowd sing. Then he runs a little bit. They get into a bit of a brawl outside the ring. A bunch of officials and everybody's out there. They get separated. They end up back in the ring, but Rollins stomps Riddle in the head and tells him it's his own fault for calling him out. And the commentary team is basically saying the same thing. Riddle was a moron. He came out here and started jibber-jabbering at your boy Seth Rollins. Ended up getting stomped for his trouble. So, I mean, it is what it is. I like this. They're going to continue the storyline to September. So if you say, well, he came back and then he got re-injured, then you got an excuse to why he can't come back immediately. to fight that man, so. All right, Riddle got a great ovation. He's in this theory position where he's just a punching bag. He get beat up all the time, but he remains over despite the fact. So that's good. Match 7 ends up being Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan. Another short match. Ronda Rousey came out there, pretty much dominated Liv Morgan. Was able to do whatever she wanted, focus on submissions, throwing her around. Commentary tells the story. Only 3 people have ever pinned Ronda Rousey in WWE. Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Liv Morgan. So she's in rarefied air. She deserves to be here. She deserves to be the champion. All right, now. Ronda, of course, goes after the arm because one of her finishers is the arm bar. It doesn't quite work out, though, as she falls prey to submission stupidity, the move that has beaten every submission wrestler in the last 5 years. A guy who doesn't want to let go of a hold. She finally gets the arm bar on Liv. Liv is selling and screaming, but she's not tapping out. Instead, she's trying to reach to the ropes. And she stands up herself in an attempt to reach the ropes, and Ronda's shoulders are down. So the referee starts to count, and even though he's right near Ronda's head, and Ronda is apparently a moron, is that you can slap the mat right near your head, and you don't let go of the hold. But Liv tapped out just as the 3 count landed. So Ronda let the hold go, thinking that she'd won. The referee just made the decision that Ronda lost by pinfall, and Ronda lost her shit. She then did her best Ken Shamrock, which means that she only beat up Liv and the referee. That was it. I think they should have just sent in more guys for Ronda to either punch out or put in arm bars or whatever. So that would have been nice. But after she attacked Liv, put her in the arm bar, refused to let it go, kicked her a couple of times, hit her a couple of times, and walked away, having turned heel. And Liv was selling for a while. But before the camera left her, she was up and celebrating again. None of this had happened. Well, she was still kind of selling the arm, but she was very happy, and she had the belt in the air or whatever. That was a time when you should have done something that was a little bit deeper, where she should have just been selling and just kind of glad she got out of there. If they're going to turn Ronda Rousey into Ken Shamrock, that could work. She doesn't have the intensity or the physique of Ken Shamrock, but she knows, joint holds and stuff like that, where she could grab somebody and hurt them. That would be an interesting little wrinkle to her character, but she needed to be a heel anyway. I know Vince loved her as a babyface, but, Ronda's probably better as a heel. And now that I guess they're going with Liv, they're going to let her Liv run. She don't need any more competitive baby faces with her to split the audience or anything like that. The reasoning behind Ronda Rousey's heel turn actually makes sense too. She feels like she won the match. So that's a good creative finish. Ronda is pissed because she feels like I won and I got jobbed out by this referee. And she passive aggressively attacked Liv Morgan. Misplaced anger. So she attacked Liv Morgan. And then the referee got in the way. So she was like, fuck it. Direct anger. Direct revenge. And beat up that referee too. So, yeah. Liv Morgan made a mistake of not selling continuously. Took me out of it a little bit. But I think we're just in that generation of people who don't really sell as much as they should. All right. So nothing happened between that and the main event. So this main event was one of the most insane, cartoonish main events I've seen in forever. Roman has his regular entrance. He comes out. Brock comes out halfway up the ramp. He decided he's going to drive a tractor. A brand new goddamn tractor that has his logo on it. He drove it to the ring. So he stands up in the bed of the tractor. Somebody throws him a microphone, which he effortlessly caught with one hand. He then told the ring announcer to shut up. He's going to introduce himself, which he did. Big old country boy, going to put a big old country ass whipping on Roman Reigns. Then he leapt off of the tractor onto Roman. It was insane. This match just went crazy off there. There's a bunch of belly-to-belly suplexes off the ladders, not off the ladders, but off the stairs and onto the ramp, onto the floor and everything. They fought backstage a little bit. They didn't go all the way backstage, but they went over into the crowd, into the audience, gave them a little something, especially the far left audience, I want to say, or the far right audience. So that was fun. Roman was assaulted with a table piece, which is insane. He got hit in the head with like a piece of an already broken table. And they broke like 100 tables in this match too. It's like tables breaking every couple of seconds. So ultimately, Brock put Roman inside of the bed of the tractor. And Roman is down, but the referee isn't counting because, he can't see him. Roman is far up in the air because that thing is pretty big and it reaches far up into the air. Brock then dumped Roman out of it, but it looked incredibly safe and didn't get a huge reaction. So, people online are like, well, the tractor thing went over like a wet fart. It didn't really work out. It was stupid. Why would you do that anyway? I guess tractors in wrestling isn't really cool. This is just for Brock to make toys and action figures and stuff. Some really good near falls after this. A couple of near falls with big moves in between. Then, of course, Brock decides that, this match, while it was, pretty violent and a little over the top, it needed to go to the next level. So he takes the tractor and he scoops the fucking ring up, tilted the ring, and Roman tumbled out to the ring onto the floor. And then they just left the ring lopsided as fuck. The ring is crooked. It's like a broken bed. It's just crooked as hell. Everybody's going nuts now. They're like, what in the fuck? You can see under the ring. Like the ring is off the ground. And it's just going to be left there like that. And they're now fighting on the other side of the ring, far away from the tractor and the exposed part of the ring. The Usos saved Roman. They come out there. Brock attempts to murder Jey Uso. I think he dropped him on his head. He wanted him to die, apparently. That's just all he wanted. He wanted him to die. Roman was in big trouble. Couple of F5s. Couple of other big moves. Paul Heyman decides, all right, the Usos just got their ass whooped. I'm going to get involved now. So Paul puts the belts in Roman's hands and says that he won. The matches are over. It's done. You want to be the champion. Here it is. After all I've done for you, this is how you treat me. He's just berating Brock and trying to get Brock to take the titles and go. And Brock picks up Paul Heyman and F5s him through a table. It was absurd. And it would have been so much better if the Miz didn't go through a table earlier. But this got people rocking too, because they rarely touch Paul. You rarely get Paul. And they got him here. And that was a good one. It was a good one. F5 on the announce table. So Paul is finished, of course. There's bodies everywhere at one point. Everybody's beating up everybody. Of course, Theory comes a running. And Theory blasts Roman in the head with the briefcase. And he's looking to cash it in. Cash in his money in the bank. And then Brock interrupted it. Beat him up. F5 on the briefcase, beat him with the briefcase, throw the briefcase all over the place. Roman wakes up, 2 spears, 9. I think he got a 9 count each time from the spears. Then he beat Brock mercilessly with the Money in the Bank briefcase, no dice. He hit him in the head with the belt twice, no dice. Each time getting about an 8 or a 9 count before Brock got back up to his feet. Then finally, the Bloodline had a smart idea. They knock Brock down, then they cover him in debris. Not Dupree, but debris. Broken table pieces of metal stairs, all sorts of stuff is laying on Brock's chest, so he can't get up. Even the Usos and Paul Heyman, all of them are standing on this stack of stuff. And Roman himself is standing on a stack of stuff. And when the 10 count is laid out, Roman has his foot on the debris with his hands in the air. a triumphant victor, despite the fact that it looked like Brock was going to tear the whole building up. You know, Roman Reigns wins. No theory cash in. All is right with the world. We gotta have Roman versus Drew McIntyre. All right. So the post-match credit scene was Brock selling his match after he was covered in stuff for so long. He staggered up the side of the broken ring to tip his hat. So I'm guessing this might be the last time you see him for a while. So if that's the case, he went out good, because this main event was something else. This main event was nuts. It felt very Attitude Era-ish, not just because, top babyface driving something, but also due to the chaos involved. The fighting backstage or into the audience, the fighting over there, the run-ins. Like the managers were far more involved tonight than at any point in time in the last several years. Like, usually managers just sit around and do nothing while their guys are getting pinned. This time manager actually did something. They actually got involved for the first time in forever. So Roman wins with the numeric advantage and by burying Brock in garbage. So it was an insane match. It was incredibly over the top. In typical WWE fashion, there's definitely going to be action figures. So get ready. So get ready. There's going to be action figures with tractors and all kinds of horse shit. If this is the last time we see Brock for a long time, rightfully so. I think that he gave it his all in this one. Brock doesn't do a lot, which makes what he does do far more important. And you seem to be having a ball driving the tractor to the ring, jumping off the tractor. It seems, that's just insanity. Why would he even do that? At the beginning of the match at that, he jumped off the tractor. And we knew what we was in for when he jumped off that tractor. We knew he was in for something. We know he was down for something. We was not about to have a shoot fighting match. There was nobody about to give somebody, a collar and elbow tie up. That's not about to happen, sir. So there was no surprise ending for Roman. And I know a lot of people kind of expected there to be somebody to challenge Roman after the fact, but it kind of made sense that there wasn't. They kind of allowed it to sink in that Roman is the guy, but we know that Drew is next, and we know that Austin Theory is still floating around. So it's not too bad. There was a shot of Brock Lesnar in the ring, in the lopsided ring, after the match. He's wearing his hat. He seemed to be saying goodbye. Maybe we won't see him again for a while. I'm almost certain we won't see him again for a while. What's next for Brock is a good question. We know that at least it was reported that he wanted to take a walk at that SmackDown 2 weeks ago. Maybe, he's finished his business and maybe he won't be back. Maybe this was the last hurrah for Brock and he figured, hey, I'm not supposed to tear up the ring in my last match. If I'm going to have this is going to be his last match. He's going to tear up the ring. But that lopsided ring was some of the wildest shit. That was something straight out of, the Ruthless Aggression era, where they used to do all kinds of shit to the ring. But it's also very Attitude Era too. And I think that's what the best thing about that moment, is that you had the Attitude Era of this guy is driving things to the ring. In this instance, it's a giant truck. It's a giant tractor. And it was tremendous. The tractor got over. It's over. And I really liked that. I really thought it was dope. It was a wild brawl. Probably the best Roman and Brock match in forever. Brock still doesn't do a lot, but what he does do, he does it very well. And he did more in this match than I think that he had ever done before, considering he leaped off of the tractor, which I still can't believe he did. So everything clicked as far as, that main event concerned. So we're kind of left in the lurch. Still don't have a champion on either brand. We'll see if how they choose to build the opponents for Roman now. Now that we are firmly in the new era, we firmly have moved on. That's the one thing I liked about this show mostly, and that's the energy for the show is now up. The energy is up. They did more stuff on this show than they ever done before. Really felt like a change in philosophy had finally kicked in. And now it was time to make every match mean something, with the exception of maybe one or two, and to give special moments for pretty much everybody, not just the winners, but also some of the losers too. So we walked out with a little of everything. We had some surprises, we had some returns, we had some great matches, we had a free agent pop up, Dakota Kai being the free agent, considering she wasn't under contract at the time. So it turned out to be a wonderful show. There was a couple of misses. I think Lashley and Theory was kind of underwhelming, and the Usos and the Street Profits were definitely underwhelming. I think they underperformed. I think they definitely had a better match at Money in the Bank. I think they had better singles matches, if we're being honest. I think they missed something, not giving the belts to the Street Profits too. So having the only heels that win all night be the Bloodline was interesting, but I felt like it was now time to turn, the Street Profits into the top tag team in the company. Because now what are you going to do? You're going to break them up? Is that the plan now? The plan now is we're going to break up the Street Profits? Like, for what? I know Montez Ford has this big future ahead of him, but look at the main event scene right now. It's kind of crowded. We don't really need that. So I'm very interested in the Triple H era. He did a good job. It seemed like he's challenging people to make this show better than it can be, than it usually would have been. But I didn't think we were going to have a problem in the ring. I looked at the card, and from an in-ring perspective, I knew it was going to be a solid night. It was all the little extras that I enjoyed. Now, I'm very interested in the stable, Bayley and her group. I want to know how do they bond? How do they work? How does this, I know kind of probably the idea is likely to be the tag team championship thing. Maybe that's where they're going with this. Maybe that's where Becky Lynch is going. Maybe Becky Lynch is going towards the tag team championships. I don't know if I would drag Bianca into that, but that seems to be the direction that they're going in. It also opens the door to, what about the SmackDown women's division? They didn't add anybody there. They added 3 to the Raw division. What about SmackDown? So that's another question. Are we going to have on SmackDown some people return? Which seems like a pretty good setup. And maybe use Bayley as a hook for Raw. But maybe you leave, well, you had Ronda turn heel, but do you have another Liv Ronda match? Do you have another one? I don't know. Because look, I'm looking at Liv and I'm telling you, her offense, no good. Her offense is no good. It's just not good. Mainly because it doesn't look like she's in a fight. It looks like she's in a performance. And I don't mind Liv Morgan, but they're going to have to do some extra work to toughen her up and to make her seem like something other than a lottery winner who is running around with a lot of money, and don't really know how to utilize it. So I don't know, but you still got Charlotte out there. There's still the off chance that Sasha Banks and Naomi could return. So maybe you got those 3. There could also be some call-ups from NXT, people that Triple H might think is ready to fill that SmackDown women's division. You've also got to revitalize some of the women that's there already, like Shotzi and Aaliyah and Lacey Evans and a lot of stuff like that. But I'm going to give them some chance. Give them a chance. Give them some time. Like I said, they got into the Royal Rumble. They did a good thing tonight, but they did a lot of hot shotting tonight too. One thing that they did that was storyline based was Ronda Rousey's heel turn, which was fine. I thought that was good. It works with her character. But, the big return with Bayley and Dakota Kai and Io Shirai, that's just pure hot shotting right there. But I think it was cool. I think tonight was a night to hot shot if you were going to hot shot. But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
MongoSlade. That's House Average, Drew Daddy.